is the 77 WABC minicast.
KT McFarland, I know I get, I'm rough, right? I'm rough. It is what it is, but I don't know how else to get through to people here in New York. This city is falling apart. We have horrible leadership from the state level to the city level. We got a really hateful guy in Gracie Mansion, so it may sound rough what I say, KT, but how else should I say it?
Well, I think you're absolutely right. It's just sad that the majority of people, well, maybe it's not the majority, but the majority of people who voted for someone like Mandami or Hoko or the whole lot of them don't wake up. The only bright light is that here we are 25 years later, and we finally have a president who's going to stand up to the blackmail, the bullying, the killing, the murdering that has come out of the Middle East for decades. And God bless Donald Trump for having the guts to do it and not kicking the can down the road and not letting somebody else deal with it. Because the thought of a country like Iran, the regime of Iran, the murderous death to America, chanting mullahs, having their hands on nuclear weapons, is a terrifying thought. So thank God that President Trump has the courage to preempt Iran's nuclear weapons program.
I echo that. I double that. I'm watching Tulsi Gabbard speak right now. She wasn't high in this effort. You know that. J.D. Vance didn't want it. Tucker Carlson didn't want it. So he was surrounded by people saying, Mr. President, there's no imminent threat. Don't do it. Trump doesn't care. He doesn't take his foreign policy advice from even J.D. Vance, let alone Tulsi or Tucker, okay? He may listen to Marco Rubio. He may listen to Alan Dershowitz before he listens to those guys. And this has been a great effort. Yes, people have died. Our service people have died. It's tragic. Israelis have died. Heck, even innocent Iranians have died. And it's all heartbreaking. But I don't know how you can make an argument, a real argument, that what the president is doing, not just right for Israel, but right for America, most importantly, and right for the world. This was something that should have been done a long time ago. And I think so far it's gone pretty well, don't you?
Oh, A+. And it couldn't have been done a long time ago. It should have been dealt with. But President Trump had to set the thing up. You know, there's this whole sequence of steps that he's taken since the first day of his presidency in his first term to get to this point where Iran is so weak financially, economically. It's been isolated from any of its friends and allies. Its proxies are done. And now is the time to strike. And plus, it's the United States, which has put us in the strongest position. We have a strong military. No other country could do anything like what we're doing in the Middle East right now. And then also because of the energy, President Trump, because of drill, baby drill, he's encouraged America to be energy not just independent, but dominant. Because of what he's done with Venezuela, we now control their oil supply. Because of his friendship with the Gulf Arabs, we now have influence over another oil-rich part of the world. And so he's sort of moved all the chess pieces into the position, and now he's saying checkmate. And he's doing it brilliantly. And for the people who, there was no imminent threat, or, come on, guys, the way you deal with a nuclear country is you preempt the problem. You don't wait until afterwards and then try to deal with an Iran.
Right.
I mean, look, they blackmailed. They've been blackmailing the United States and the world with the Strait of Hormuz going back to Reagan. I was in the Pentagon when they blackmailed the United States and tried to close the Strait of Hormuz. They've been blackmailing Israel forever. They've been blackmailing other countries in the region. Finally, we've got a president who stands up and says, I put everything in position. Now's the time to move. We were in the Oval Office the first day of his first term when he said, I'm putting Iran on notice. I'm watching what they're doing. And he's now gotten the United States in a position where we can challenge them, we can threaten them, we can destroy them, and we're doing it brilliantly.
Yeah, he took out Soleimani in that first term. And you mentioned the Strait of Hormuz. Of course, today that is still a sticking point. They're not allowing American or Israeli ships to go through. Of course, that's a battle that they can't sustain. They can't win.
No.
And none of these other countries are going to help them, not China, not Russia. Russia, of course, I had this conversation yesterday with Gordon Chang, that the country right now that is actually gaining because of this conflict between us and Iran is Russia, because here comes their oil. They're buying oil again. So Putin, he's able to continue to fund this horrible war effort going year 5 now where the Russians, even though they'll win because of attrition, I've been saying that with people like Peter King for years, they're going to win, but is it going to be a win? They've lost so many people, and it's been a disaster for Putin, but you'd have to agree that Russia right now is one of the countries that is actually gaining because of this conflict.
Yeah, a slight gain. I mean, they're gaining because oil prices are temporarily high, and they sell oil and natural gas. But who do they sell it to? They sell it to China, and China buys it at a great discount from Russia. So, yeah, they're making out a little bit better, but they're not making out really well. Where they're making out in a better way is that the worry is that the United States is, I think, rightfully focused on Iran and the Middle East and a nuclear Iran that would challenge the United States. And so there is some worry in the Europeans that, hey, wait a minute, what about Ukraine? Ukraine is a bigger problem. We don't really care about Israel or the Middle East. We care about Ukraine. And if the United States is using a lot of our weapon systems to deal with Iran, they're worried that it'll be drawing down some of the ability of Ukraine to fight back. I mean, I'm not as worried about that. I think you have to deal with America's national interests first, and our national interests. I mean, our prime national interest would be to protect America from a nuclear-armed Iran. So preempt it, make sure Iran can't challenge the United States in a military way. And while we're at it, remake the Middle East. And frankly, I'm sure Gordon told you this, Gordon's a close friend of mine, the real loser in all of this is not just Iran, but it's China.
China, yeah. No, they're getting killed. China's getting killed, and their economy's in the dumper. And now President Trump has postponed his Beijing trip. It's supposed to be in 2 weeks, now for at least 5 or 6 weeks, maybe more. So, yes, China is hurting. This conflict hurts them, like you said, outside of Iran more than anybody. But what's great about Trump is he's doing 30 things at once, right? So you got this war going on, right? You still, I'm going to travel to Florida today. I'm worried about the lines at Kennedy Airport. So he's still out there yelling and screaming at Chuck Schumer and Jeffries and all these idiot Democrats about the DHS shutdown. He's out there yesterday basically telling John Thune, get this thing done, the Save America Act. He's texting me on Tuesday morning at 7:30 about something not even political. He finds time to do stuff all day long, every day, this president. He doesn't get bogged down, with one thing, which is unbelievable. But I think right now there are still some people that are very nervous about the midterms, despite his great speech at the State of the Union, and despite now the country going the other way. Initially they were against the war, now they're not. All the polls lately have the country for the war. But I think the economy at home is still an issue, and it has voters still worried about the midterms.
Yeah, but here's the thing. So I think the Iran war doesn't last long. But I think that the military objectives that we will reach in the next several days, weeks, it's now to the point where Mossad has so thoroughly penetrated the Iranian intelligence, military regime that you're now having Mossad agents who are calling up sort of second-tier leaders in the IRGC, the colonels, and they're saying, hey, look, we know who you are. We know where you live. We just want to tell you, step aside, lay down your arms, or you're a dead man. And that's got to, with all these calls that Mossad is making to not just the top 10, but the top 10,000, somewhere in there are some people who are going to be able to step forward and say, look, I didn't sign up for martyrdom. I love my country, and I'm going to work with whoever is next, with the Americans. So I think that there'll be a military end to this. I think there'll be a political solution to this. And the minute there's a political solution, there's also an energy solution. And at that point, energy prices are going to fall greatly. Because remember, we now control the world's energy supply, and we control the prices between the United States and Venezuela and our Gulf Arab allies, and then potentially Iran. That changes the economy overnight. And I think that the economic growth will be there. It won't be there, it won't be there maybe June 1st, but my guess is it's certainly there by August 1st, and that'll make a big difference.
On the way out, Trump is set to meet with Japan's prime minister today. She's here.
Yeah.
But, Cuba is in the news today as much as Iran. It does look like they're ready to fall. They shut the lights out. I mean, a couple nights ago, these bastards, they shut the lights out. But I think Trump is pretty much had enough of that. And between with two great, and I mean great, Cuban Republicans, both good friends of mine, Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Senator Ted Cruz, I think the United States is ready to act on this Cuba situation very, 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 very soon. Yes?
Yeah, I mean, I think that one's in a matter of days, if not weeks. So what's happening is that Marco Rubio is talking, not to the communist leadership. He's talking to Raul Castro's grandson, who's in his 40s. And they're speaking Spanish. They're speaking sort of Cuban Spanish. They apparently get along very well. They've had a number of conversations. And the younger, Raulito is what his nickname is he's talking to Marco Rubio about, okay, communism hasn't worked in our country. Let's go forward. How can we have a relationship with the United States going forward? And so, again, whether it's in Venezuela, where Trump is working with the people there to have a close relationship with the United States, or whether it's potentially in Iran and certainly with Cuba. If Marco Rubio is already talking to somebody who is the heir apparent to the Castro movement, and that heir apparent is saying, we want to change the direction of Cuba, we want to work with the United States, I think that one will be just a huge game changer. It'll be a real loss, again, to the Russians, to the Chinese, but it'll be such a gain to the United States, morally, psychologically, economically, in military sense and strategic sense. It just will be a huge win. And I put a lot of that right on Marco Rubio, who has done extraordinary work in this. He's been talking about it for years. He came on my old show on Fox News, DEFCON 3, and he talked about Cuba, the mistake Obama made in recognizing the communist government, and the hope that Cuba will eventually be pro-American. And I think that it'll pay off. I do think it'll pay off, and it'll pay off in months, within a few months.